Good morning. My name is Sam Williamson. I'm the chair of the Urban Redevelopment Authority, and we are here this morning to announce exciting news that after a months-long search process, the URA board this afternoon will take up the appointment of a new leadership team at the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh. The search committee that was convened months ago to search for a new executive director has recommended to the board the appointment of Greg Flisram as the new executive director of the URA, and the board this afternoon intends to appoint Diamonte Walker as the deputy executive director of the URA. This will be a dynamic new leadership team to lead the URA into the future. And I want to, before we go really into any further remarks about Diamonte or Greg or the future of the URA, I want to take a minute to thank the search committee that spent countless hours interviewing candidates, thinking about what Pittsburgh needs in our new executive director, and really putting an incredible amount of diligence and thought into this process. The search committee was LaShawn Burton Falk from Manchester Citizens Corporation, Grant Oliphant from the Heinz Endowments, Janera Solomon from Kelly Strayhorn Theater, Mark Thomas from the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance, and Dan Gilman from the mayor's office. We had, with the help of HRNA advisors, assembled a list of 143 candidates and potential candidates. We went through a months-long exhaustive search process, really across the country, looking for the person that would complement the existing staff and leadership team at the URA and be able to lead Pittsburgh and the Urban Redevelopment Authority into the future. You know, Pittsburgh has experienced tremendous change in recent years. We have transformed our economy from the boom and bust industrial economy of the steel industry to a burgeoning service sector and tech economy. And that story has been written about across the world. We see in neighborhoods all across Pittsburgh the impact of the URA and the URA's work. But we also know that too many people, too many Pittsburghers are being left out of that change and of that progress, that too many Pittsburghers still live in poverty, that escalating housing costs and the growth of low-wage jobs has widened the gap between the rich and the poor. And our task as the redevelopment authority of the city is to continue to promote the growth of Pittsburgh's economy and the development of our neighborhoods in a way that simultaneously keeps Pittsburgh affordable and grows a middle-class wage economy for this city and for the future. So we need a URA that is fully equipped to handle those challenges, that is fully equipped to meet the needs of Pittsburgh and of Pittsburghers in the 21st century, and that is focused not just on building projects, but on actually developing the human assets of Pittsburgh, that we're focused on people and not just projects. So we are extremely excited after this long process to introduce Greg and to announce a dynamic leadership team of Greg, Flisram, and Diamonte Walker. We'll say a little bit more, I think, in a few minutes about Greg's background. But first I want to invite up to say a few words the Vice Chair of the URA, Ed Gainey.
Good morning, everyone. How you doing? First and foremost, I want to thank the mayor for his vision and determination in creating a URA that is not only inclusive, but also is ready to take on a new mantle of changing the city of Pittsburgh. For that, we should say thank you. Secondly, I want to thank the search committee. It took a lot of effort, dedication, and hard work for the search committee to sit down, work with one another to come up with a finalist for the executive director position of the URA. I think we should give them a nice applause too. Even though we don't have a mayor, we should still thank them. And thirdly, we can't say enough about Diamonte Walker. That when she stepped into this position, she stepped in knowing the challenge, knowing that she had to navigate a situation in which she was going to have to turn it over. But how much strength is it in her to navigate a ship that now is going in the right direction? And for that, we say thank you. And I also want to say that when we talk about a more inclusive Pittsburgh that you heard the board chair, Sam Williamson, talk about, that's true. We're glad to have you, Greg. We're glad to have you here. There's issues that we know we have to continue to focus on and continue to work on, and the URA has been doing that. whether we're talking about affordable housing or MBEWB businesses. We have to maintain our drive in order to drive an inclusive society and a middle-class society that includes all, that we include everybody in the incorporation and building of the city of Pittsburgh. And as we move forward, this is our goal. So today we have a new captain of the ship, Greg, who we can't wait to work with to make these dreams a reality. And as long as this city can dream, we know what our history has taught us. We can always change and bring a new economy to this city. Thank you.
That's okay.
We're gonna let Sam finish.
All right. So next, we're going to invite the mayor up to say a few words. Ed is absolutely right. We could not be here without the work of that search committee, and really of the rest of the board, which will take up these votes this afternoon. It's great to have the leadership of the mayor, without whom none of this would be possible. So, Mayor Peduto.
I'm gonna ask you to stand over to the left so you can continue to MC. The URA has gone through a couple of very big changes. Obviously, when Mayor David Lawrence created the Urban Redevelopment Authority, he didn't have a model in which to guide him. He created it with an understanding that this city, which was an industrial city, could be transformed into a corporate headquarters, but it was going to take a lot of brick and mortar. He saw a downtown where trains were running, where the lights would stay on 24 hours a day because of the air pollution. He saw a steel mill right down at the point and thought that maybe we could transform this. In his dream and his idea of creating that authority, saw the transformation of Pittsburgh from its heyday of heavy industrial to becoming the third largest corporate center in America. In the 1970s, the three largest corporate centers were New York, Chicago, and Pittsburgh. That URA then became a different organization when the steel industry died. And we were left with massive tracts of land along riverfronts. We were left with an economy that was worse off than during the Great Depression. And that URA stood up to the challenge of trying to figure out how to do something with vacant property, with vacant land, with an economy that had completely tanked, and trying to find strategic partners in order to, at one point, keep our head above the water, and at the other point, try to build something new. Well, we're at that point of something new. But it doesn't mean that the challenges aren't there. They're just different. Now we see an economy that is booming, that is growing in the 21st century in ways that we couldn't even imagine 10 years ago. But it isn't there for all. Because for over 25% of Pittsburghers, they see this new economy that is growing and building in their own neighborhoods, and they say, where is my place in this? We have an opportunity that is before us as well. As we tell that Pittsburgh story, that story of the smoky city that came back through clean energy and cleaned its environment. And we have the opportunity to say, how can we build that type, not only of economy, but quality of life through our parks, through our trees, through the continued greening of Pittsburgh in every neighborhood. And then we see the legacy of that post-industrial city. Empty houses that sit vacant on neighborhood streets that are anchors that bring down an entire neighborhood. While people are unemployed in that same neighborhood who could be trained and working to bring those houses back and putting them on the tax rolls and giving somebody the opportunity to own a home so that when that neighborhood does come back, they don't have to worry about what the cost of rent is because they become wealthier because of the equity that they have in their own community. We see the same thing within the neighborhood business districts. Empty storefront after empty storefront after empty storefront, when young entrepreneurs within those communities want the opportunity to start their own business, to create their own opportunity. But we're not connecting these different challenges to each other. That is where we stand today. On this historic day, we are taking the second pivot of what the Urban Redevelopment Authority will mean to the economic development strategy of the city of Pittsburgh. From this day forward, the economic development strategy of the city of Pittsburgh is forever changed. It is now one that will focus on building a new economy for all and restoring our neighborhoods through housing and entrepreneurship in order to be able to see the full potential of the people that call Pittsburgh home. We will be relying on the people that helped us through that second iteration, the people that worked through the URA through the tough years of being able to create programs that were recognized nationally and internationally. And we'll be giving them the resources, the tool, and most importantly, the structure in order to succeed in doing the next goal for the city of Pittsburgh. Now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, there may be an entirely different need of this city. And I would expect that whoever was the mayor at that time would do the same thing and use this incredible organization as the vehicle that David Lawrence created it to be, the transition of the city through economic development. This is and has been a national search to be able to find a leadership team. And Greg comes to us from Kansas City, where he worked with my good friend, Mayor Sly James, in helping to bring about not only the structural changes to Kansas City's economic development department, but also the cultural changes that are needed with it. And this search led us back home, right to Pittsburgh, in finding Diamonte, in order to be able not only to understand through firsthand knowledge of growing up in the city, but through the leadership that she has been able to present through the URA of the direct needs of the city. We have a new dynamic leadership team for economic development, and it will continue to grow. We will be hiring a chief economic development officer for the city of Pittsburgh. We will be hiring a chief development officer for the Housing Authority of Pittsburgh. We will be hiring a planning director for the city of Pittsburgh. In this new team, working with the people in all of those departments who've worked for this city for many years, will be the team that will help to lead us into that next transition.
So several months ago, when Robert Rubenstein, after decades of service to the URA and to the city of Pittsburgh, told me that he was going to be resigning as our executive director, the board had to convene some conversations and talk about who was going to immediately step in and serve to lead our organization through this transitional process. And it was a pretty quick conversation, because we knew immediately that we had in Diamonte Walker somebody already on our staff, already in place, who has the leadership skills, the passion, and the vision to be a part of a dynamic new leadership team for this city and for the URA. She has done an amazing job over the last 6 or so months serving as interim director of the URA. She's going to do an even more amazing job in the future as the deputy executive director of the URA. This really is, as the mayor said, about teamwork. We can't realize the dreams that Pittsburghers have for their future and for their economy without all working together, from the URA to the mayor's office, to city council, to other city departments and authorities. We've got to work together to make sure that we are all pushing in the same direction. And having a new leadership team at the URA will enable us to do that. I'm so excited to announce the promotion of Diamonte Walker to the position of Deputy Executive Director of the URA. Diamonte?
Thank you, Sam. Honorable Mayor Peduto, board members, colleagues, family, and friends, and fellow Pittsburghers, I stand before you today deeply humbled to be named part of this new dynamic leadership team. I am honored to be afforded the opportunity to be the URA's first Black female Deputy Executive Director in its 74-year history. There are so many women, Black women in particular, who made this moment possible by giving me sturdy shoulders to stand on, and I honor them today. To my husband, my mother, my children, my God, I thank each of you for your unwavering love, kindness, and support through the long days that brought us to this moment. To the amazing URA staffers, who've endured a significant amount of change with nothing less than grace and professionalism, I applaud you for the work you do on behalf of our great city. To the historic Hill District, my community, my home, I thank you for shaping me into the person that you see before you today. As Sam said, about 6 months ago, he called me and he asked me to serve as the URA's interim executive director, interim deputy director. And first I had to make sure Sam called the right number. And then I immediately said yes and understood that to be a signal that the URA wanted to move in a more bold and dynamic direction, building upon the strong legacy that has gotten us to this moment. It became apparent that the board was calling me to a deeper level of leadership, and that the URA would be positioned to address the city's most critical community and economic development imperatives. So today's nomination of Mr. Greg Flisram as the URA's executive director and the convergence of our forces together further demonstrate a serious commitment to tackling Pittsburgh's 21st century challenges and the opportunities that will yield equitable results for all Pittsburghers, regardless of race, gender, identity, zip code, or financial circumstance. And quickly before I wrap up, and Greg, you probably don't know this, but I've spent quite a lot of time Googling you, and I've read Greg's bio and his numerous publications and the remarkable achievements that he's amassed over the course of his amazing career. But I'm here to tell you today that his bio does not do him proper justice. It will not tell you what I learned over breakfast, that he has a heart for people, that he has a deep, abiding concern for disinvested and striving communities, and an unwavering optimism about how governance done well, which is what we intend to do together, can not only effectively serve people, but can better position for them to serve themselves and serve one another. This tells me that Greg will be the right fit, because in Pittsburgh, what we do first is we take care of our neighbors no matter what. So I am eternally grateful to Chairman Williamson, Board Member Jody Hirsch, Chief Lindsay Powell, Councilman Daniel Lavelle, Representative Ed Gainey, Chief Gilman, and Mayor Peduto for the confidence that you've placed in me to take up the mantle of leadership during such a critical moment. And Greg, I've been eager to work with you since they announced your candidacy, and it is with great joy that I endorse you for recommendation to the board to be our new executive director. Welcome to Pittsburgh.
So finally, and certainly not least, it'll be my great honor to introduce Greg Flisram to Pittsburgh. Greg and Diamonte will be leading an incredibly talented team of 96 loyal and committed staff members at the URA. He comes to us from Kansas City, where he has served as the interim president and CEO of the Economic Development Corporation of Kansas City. That organization has been responsible for the creation of 3,500 new Kansas City jobs and over $1 billion of capital investment per year. That's the kind of leadership we need in Pittsburgh. Prior to joining the Economic Development Corporation of Kansas City, Greg was the development director for the city of Green Bay, Wisconsin, where he led that city's successful downtown riverfront redevelopment efforts and advised the Green Bay Packers on the development of the sports and entertainment complex known as the Titletown District. Prior to working in the economic development field in Kansas City and in Green Bay, Greg worked for many years as a redevelopment and economic development consultant and planner to cities all across the United States of America. He's penned numerous articles on urbanism and on planning-related topics that have appeared in national publications such as Planning Magazine, Urban Land, and Metropolis.com. Lately, he's been focused on Kansas City's redevelopment strategy for Blue Valley and the Greater East Side District of Kansas City, Missouri. He is a talented and committed economic development professional who is also committed to equity and to people. He's the perfect fit for this job, the perfect fit for the city of Pittsburgh, the perfect fit for the URA. Greg, welcome to Pittsburgh.
Thank you. Wow, that was quite the introduction, and I'm really, really excited to be here. Pittsburgh is a wonderful city. I want to thank Mayor Peduto, Sam, Diamonte, and the entire selection committee and the board of the URA for selecting me out of the huge field of candidates. I'm flattered, honored, and really excited to start here. You know, Pittsburgh is a city that people in my profession have had their eyes on for a very long time. I think the mayor put it really well when he said that it's a national, if not international, model for economic reinvention and regeneration. And I think it's really the envy of post-industrial urban economies throughout the world at this point. So I think this job is really to how do we continue that momentum and write the next chapter of the city's economic development history, but do it in a way that is more inclusive and help through initiatives like neighborhood revitalization, affordable housing, economic equity and inclusion issues. How do we spread that prosperity to neighborhoods and to populations whose boat hasn't been lifted by the rising tide? So going forward, I'd like to see Pittsburgh become a city that's not just a national, international paragon for post-industrial revitalization, technology, science, professional services, but also as a national model and even a test lab for new ideas around affordable housing and economic equity and inclusion. So with that, again, I'd like to thank everybody who was involved in my selection. I'm really excited to be here. The city is a wonderful place. I really want to thank Diamonte for her gracious introduction, and I know we're going to be kindred spirits just over breakfast. We only met a short time, but the chemistry is definitely there. Appreciate everything that everybody's done to make me, to allow me to come here, and I'm looking forward to the hard work that lays ahead. Thank you very much.